Well, hello and welcome back to another intrepid instalment of Live from the Devon Business Show 2024 here at the Plymouth Life Centre. It's fair to say that this year, in terms of Chamberland, it has been a momentous year, and it will continue to be a momentous year as we work incredibly hard to deliver better services for the business community, which of course helps everyone. Now, we're going to talk about that in more detail, but before we go any further, let's get some more shout-outs done. There are quite a few exhibitors here, you know, both inside and outside the venue. We'd like to say hello to Bailey Partnership, to City College Plymouth, to Heart of the Southwest Growth Hub, to Tamar HR, to Millfield Trust, to PL1 Events, and also a special thank you to PL1 Events, who have made what 24 hours ago didn't look possible. They've worked really hard. And also to New Continental Hotel. Now, we have two very special, very important guests here up in the podcast studio at the Plymouth Life Centre. We have the Chief Exec and the Deputy Chief Exec of the brand spanking new Devon Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Stuart Elford and Mr. Richard Marsh. You can give yourselves a round of applause, okay? We're happy with that. You can give yourself a clap. There we are, yes. Now, you've been rather busy, haven't you, you two?
Well, it's been a bit of a busy year, Richard. I would have said. What's happened?
Not a lot, really.
Few meetings,
quite quiet.
End of episode. We'll go home.
Let's just say, in the most environmentally friendly way, we've been going between Exeter and Plymouth, up and down. So the A38 has had a fair bit of wear and tear, and we've got to know it quite well. And we've been meeting halfway, literally
at Buckfast Abbey, who are exhibiting here. Thank you to them. They've been very, very supportive in providing rooms for us, and I think my car could drive there and back on its own now.
Yeah.
So what you're alluding to, of course, is the merger.
Yes, so I said in my intro, it has been and will continue to be a momentous year. This is not only the first time we've held a Devon Business Show on a scale like this, but it is from the Devon Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
Stuart, explain more for those who have been perhaps under a rock.
Yes, I think you'd have to have been, hopefully, not to have seen it. But, Plymouth Chamber of Commerce and Industry Limited was actually the fifth oldest chamber in the world, the third oldest in the country, formed 1813 by a bunch of ship merchants on the Barbican who realised they were better off together. Fast forward, and we became accredited by British Chambers of Commerce, and then we became accredited as the county chamber and changed our name to Devon and Plymouth Chamber. But with deference to our colleagues in Exeter, we didn't operate in that space unless we did something together. And so we didn't really represent the whole of Devon. We were the Devon Chamber, but there was this sort of, I wouldn't say a hole, because it was filled by a very able chamber called Exeter Chamber of Commerce. And then Richard, my colleague Richard here, came into the position of Chief Executive of Exeter Chamber. I was Chief Executive of Plymouth Chamber. We met, we got on. Our chairs met, they got on. Exeter was looking at its back office services, which it outsources, and put that out to tender. So we tendered for the lot, but had a breakfast at which we said, let's have a talk about the art of the possible. And fast forward about 18 months, and the organisations have quite rightly done what we should have done about 100 years ago and merged. And so this is probably the most momentous thing to happen in the Devon sort of chamber world for the last couple of 100 years. Is that fair, Richard?
I think that's a really great way of putting it, actually. Yeah, so Exeter Chamber, just a bit of history, actually predates Exeter City Council as the main kind of influencing body for business. So we have a grand history as well, with links to our historical trade. And so when I got involved, as Stuart quite rightly says, we looked at Exeter Chamber with our membership. We looked at down the road essentially at what Plymouth and Devon were doing, and actually businesses do not recognise boundaries, and became quite evident that we not only have quite a few joint memberships, so companies that were members of both chambers, but actually people want to do business with people and businesses right across the whole county. And so it felt rather limiting to have two chambers who potentially, and I say potentially because we did behave ourselves, compete with each other.
Yeah, I guess from those from outside it might look a bit disjointed for the region.
It was, without a doubt. Yeah, and that's a fair criticism, and quite rightly. You know, we should have been joined up years before, but we've done it now. What it means is the chamber's grown by a third overnight. It means that Devon Chamber properly represents the whole of the county. We have access to more businesses all over the county. The business voice is stronger, so our position lobbying in government is stronger. And with devolution in whatever form that is coming, it is coming, but in whatever form it comes, positions the Chamber as the business representative body in Devon.
Now, Richard, there will be businesses who think they don't need to be part of a chamber. What chambers do doesn't matter to them. But at the end of the day, you are here to support, to drive the message on behalf of the community, the business community. Therefore, you affect the community as a whole. You cannot actually underestimate the value and the importance of Devon and all the regional chambers around the UK. The work you do is incredibly important.
Quite right, and on several levels. So if you take it on a kind of macro level, on a national level, businesses need and must have a voice. Because the danger is, in the great kind of melee of politics, businesses can disappear, and the needs of businesses. Because businesses drive, as we all know, they drive the economy, and the economy drives the wealth of the nation. So we keep people in employment, we keep people trained, we develop people. So we play a vital role on that macro role. So the voice that Stuart mentions is absolutely crucial, and there's no doubt that bringing together our two chambers gives us a much more powerful voice, and we'll be listened to. There's absolutely no doubt. And in terms of our relevance to all businesses, it's not just about doing business between each other. It could be down to recruitment, could be sharing learnings. There are so many different levels how interacting with people and other businesses help businesses grow. Diversity is a huge player in this, so the more views the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say he said that sometimes I think that the business voice, though important, is hard to put a value on. You know, it's intangible in some instances. You know, during the pandemic, we were able to introduce a business that was inadvertently badly affected by a policy to government, and actually Rishi Sunak as Chancellor rang that business, changed policy, and they say that saved £200,000 a year. Now, I can't guarantee to get Rishi Sunak or whoever, to Rachel Reeves, to call every business that puts forward an issue, but that's a very tangible example of the power of an accredited Chamber of Commerce.
I can give another example, Stuart, actually.
Yeah, good.
Very recently, 2 weeks ago, where we had set up a meeting with our new MP in Exeter, Steve Race, from the Labour Party. He turns out he's on the Business Growth Panel, or Business Growth Board, I think they call it, for the Labour Party, which is a great plus for all of us. And I was discussing the issues for one of our members who'd raised it around the delays in the understanding what was going to happen with the nationalisation of the railways. That kind of uncertainty is holding up investment in the railways. And one of our members, their main customer are the railways. So there's very little investment going out or being confirmed. And so there's been a big hold put on their orders. That has, that's potentially very threatening. So we as a chamber raised that with Steve. He's taken it to Rachel Reeves and is going, as Stuart said, actually very similar, going direct to that manufacturer to discuss the issues.
Yeah, and there are those big picture items. If a business thinks that isn't relevant to them, the Chamber is so much more than that. You know, we have a package of membership, menu-based membership system, and it starts at £245, and yet we've added up the value of the benefits under that, and it's £3,500 plus. So for £245, you get £3,500 worth of benefits. That includes things like free tax, health and safety, HR helpline, backed by legal expenses insurance and tax inquiry insurance, and you've got access to the Swoop Finance Finder, you've got access to all the benefits through British Chambers of Commerce. So there is a pound, shilling and pence value on joining a chamber, and in fact ONS statistics, not our own, but ONS statistics say if you're a member of Devon Chamber, you are 3.5 times more likely to survive and thrive in business than if you're not.
One of the themes that we keep on coming back to with regards to previous interviews, and no doubt interviews to come, is the fact that businesses no longer operate within borders.
No.
Especially those that work within the digital, I have a problem with the word digital, within the digital landscape. How do regional chambers take that into account, the fact that businesses don't operate locally? What kind of services can you offer to expand a business and organisation's reach? Richard?
I'll give you a recent example of somebody who's recently come into Exeter Chamber, Devon Chamber, who is starting a platform business, platform-based, so digital. And they have the most brilliant idea and brilliant concept. They already have some backing. They will no doubt go national. I suspect they'll be international. And this is around how the logistics work for waste food. And it's a platform-based business. One of the founders was very, very senior at Microsoft in Seattle and has relocated to Sidmouth, which is amazing. So walked into my door and I thought, I had no idea who I was going to meet. Told him about my background, and then I mentally, immediately shrunk in my chair feeling, oh dear, yes. I've just met, I think he was actually probably CEO, I might say, but I'll be careful because I don't want any confidences of Microsoft. Who happens to have relocated, but has this amazing concept. So we will be connecting his business with potential investors through an investor bank that are members of our chamber. Who are very interested in talking to him. So, and that will be a multinational business.
Fantastic. It still comes back to people, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's all about people, and the people in my team include International Trade Advisor, who can help businesses reach out to markets around the world, and then can help with the practicalities of it, the documentation required. You're absolutely right, businesses don't recognise boundaries, but the British Chambers of Commerce is an international network. So there are British Chambers of Commerces around the world. So you need to get out there, and we can help you.
And actually, it's different. It's quite interesting when you travel and you work with businesses around the world, in different countries and different areas. They have different views of how they work with their local and regional chambers. I'll call upon first-hand experience in Hungary. Got a small business that operates over there. You actually have to join your Chamber of Commerce compulsorily. It's not an option.
Mandatory,
it's mandatory.
Yeah.
It's very different, isn't it, Richard?
So we, again, I can only agree with you because
you got an example.
I have got another example because it happens all the time. So, well, not all the time, but recently one of our directors has international business development experience in the kind of IT sector, and he introduced us to one of his old mates, as it often happens, who is very senior in the Bavarian Chamber of Commerce, and exactly the same thing applies.
Yeah.
Now, they are very interested in working with us as a county, almost in a kind of an exchange arrangement.
Twinning.
So,
sort of twinning
sorry, I
type
was just
thing.
about to say, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Twinning, like when I grew up in Chagford on the edge of Dartmoor, we twinned with a French town, and we've got friends now from all those years ago in Bretteville-sur-Lez in Normandy. Yeah. And the same can develop for our chamber. So we're very keen that can happen and bring across those relationships. One of Devon and Plymouth's members has just come back from Japan.
Yes. We spoke to Steve Warren Brown
you
earlier
did.
today.
Oh, what a story he's got to tell.
Fantastic story.
Yeah.
Yes, so scroll back on your timeline if you want to listen to and find out a bit more about that. Stuart, how do we I guess we've already given some examples, but I'm going to ask the question explicitly. How do we keep chambers relevant?
That's a really good question, and it's a subject I think that the British Chambers of Commerce Network is addressing, and one that our own board will be addressing at its strategy day. But I think it comes down to people. I think people will always do business with people. I hope we never just do business completely digitally, completely remotely. We are a social species. But I think what people want from their chamber will change, and I think chambers themselves have changed. I can remember the first dinner I went to that was associated with the chamber, I would say many years ago, there was one woman in the room. Well, if you look behind me now, in here we are in the Plymouth Life Centre, at least 50% of the business people are women. Quite rightly, we want to be representative. We've got a much younger membership base, all sizes, all sectors. That's the beauty of Chambers of Commerce. I think helping people with the issues of the day. The issues that were an issue 20 years ago aren't the issues that are an issue today. I think businesses at the moment are struggling with how they work towards net zero. I mean, where do you start? So we're helping with that. Yeah. Skills is a massive issue. So we run the local skills improvement plan for the Department for Education that puts the employer's voice at the heart of further education planning. So at the moment, our strategic priorities are people, planet and purpose, because people tell me that's what they're struggling with. And I think as long as we continue to support our members with the issues they face, we will remain relevant. I think a big mistake would be for us to think we know all the answers and we know what members want. And in fact, we've just worked with Anna Lake Consulting, who has spoken to members anonymously and held various forums and surveys, and she's come back with some really good critical friend help about the sort of thing that we're doing that people value, but also the sort of thing they think we should be doing. And we'll be picking up on that. We always are here to listen as well as talk.
Richard, do you agree? Of course you agree.
I mean, totally agree. So it's long been our approach to actually, it's the classic kind of marketing approach really, to listen to your customer and develop products and services around what your customer in our existence as members. So it's important we do feedback forms all the time. And as Stuart says, the piece of work that's been done already is brilliant. So, we welcome and get feedback from all our events. So we're always asking, and we do surveys, asking what people want to see in their events, who they want in their events and kind of formats.
So talking about listening to the business community of our region, is it fair to say that the needs and requirements of our region differs from that around the United Kingdom? I know you sit on various boards that take into account other parts of the UK, most certainly other parts of the Southwest, and you have your chief execs panel, don't you, of all the chambers? And I guess, do you find there are issues that are shared, but there are issues that are truly unique to the region? Yes,
and I think that's probably why chambers are independent. So we are the Devon Chamber. We're not just we're not owned or affiliated to British Chambers of Commerce, other than we are accredited by them. They can't tell us what to do, and we have to meet certain accreditation standards, but we represent Devon and Devon businesses. And on that panel you talked about, which meets now monthly online, yes, an awful lot of what we find is joined up. So it's great that British Chambers of Commerce, with their powerful lobbying voice, can take that forward to government. So skills, massive issue at the moment, massive issue. Concerns about overtaxation and cost on businesses. But in the Southwest, we've got our unique challenges, and that's where Richard and I will be working really hard with our local MPs and local government to say, look, we've got infrastructure issues, we've still got broadband issues, super fast broadband in areas of Devon. Cornwall's got itself relatively sorted out now with that. Devon needs to sort that out. We've got real problems of rural and coastal communities with the cost of housing. There are areas in this region where the highest paid job in the town won't pay for the cheapest mortgage in the town. Well, that's insane. Who's gonna staff the shops and look after the hospitality? So we have some unique challenges, but and that's where it works. Even within Devon, Exeter Chamber still exists as a brand.
I was going to say,
Plymouth still exists as a brand.
We're talking challenges, Devon versus the rest of the world, but actually we've got our own micro challenges within the sub-regions of Devon.
Definitely. I mean, Richard won't mind me saying, he spoke to me on the way in, that the traffic in Plymouth is relatively good. Plymouthians probably swooning if they hear me say that, but it is relatively good. Exeter, you have real traffic issues, don't you? And those are things that you want to work on specifically. So the Exeter Place Board will work on those things that are relevant to Exeter. The Plymouth Place Board will work on the things that are relevant to Plymouth. We work together on the things that are relevant to Devon. We work wider. I chair British Chambers of Commerce Southwest for the Southwest bit. So we really are trying to join this up and not work in silos.
I might add that we've got challenges, but also we have some huge opportunities. And part of our job is to recognise those opportunities and those that are unique to our wonderful region. So, the green economy, the opportunities that are all around net zero in terms of business development, and the digital development. We have so many startups in this part of the country. We're brilliant at incubating businesses through both our universities and colleges. We've got top performing educational establishments in our county, and we need to champion those. And those are the opportunities for growth and development.
We do. I should say, Plymouth's got 3 universities. I mean, what a university town! And we wasn't doing a one-upmanship there. I'm just saying, we are a massive university region with all this talent, with all this emerging research. We just need to make sure that's captured and utilised.
I've said it before, and I've said it again. The work and the impact that chambers do cannot be undervalued, because, as you quite rightly said earlier, Richard, if you've got better business, you've got better everything else. People have better incomes, they have a better living experiences. So what's your one wish? In fact, you can give us several wishes if you want to, for the future of, I'm going to use the term chamberland, of how chambers operate, what they want to achieve, what their relevance is. What's your one wish for the future? I'm going to start with you, Richard.
So I think for our Devon Chamber, we've made a major step forward with Exeter and Plymouth coming together. We've ignored some of the politics that are currently around and actually said, no, businesses don't recognise boundaries. I think my wish and big opportunity is that we encompass, I guess, even more of Devon. So, we are probably underrepresented in North Devon,
Yes.
and also in South Devon. And so my wish is that we do, over the next few months, years, develop that real total Devon package.
I really like the point you made about, you mentioned politics. I won't give examples, but there will no doubt be examples where politicians have not been able to come together to see eye to eye. That's the very nature of politics at the end of the day. Yet, there are those who say this Devon Chamber would never happen, but it has, because you've found common grounds, you've found ways to improve the business landscape for the region, ergo improves it for all the sub-landscapes within the region. You've achieved an amazing thing.
I can only agree with you on that, Paul.
Yeah.
Well, and absolutely, and I hope that politicians will do what we've done, and I've got to give credit to both boards of what was the Devon and Plymouth Chamber and the Exeter Chamber for leaving egos at the door and saying what's best for our members, what's best for Devon, what's best for business. And some people were no longer directors. Some people didn't have titles they used to have. And I wish some of our politicians would look at that. I really think, I've got to say, we are apolitical. We will work with any party, anybody. We don't criticise politicians. We don't criticise parties. We will act as a critical friend to policies that are unhelpful to business. But you have to say that devolution, if we don't get our act together in this region, we are going to lose out. The government's making it clear that large combined authorities, particularly mayoral combined authorities, are the ones that will get the money.
And as we broadcast on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, there will be, of course, those who don't know the complexities of devolution and what it means for the region. So can you give us a quick summary in a nutshell?
Yeah, so devolution is an extra layer, but it's not replacing the councils that are already there. It is Parliament saying we devolve responsibility for spend to you in your regions. What they're saying, the current government, is that some areas are too small to act alone. That's not a useful administrative area. So they're talking about at least 1 million people to be in a combined authority. So what it is, it's a layer of government, if you like, local government above the existing councils, through which money comes. And if government is saying that is the way that money comes, we need to get our act together, because we will be down the pecking order and we will not get the money. I'm sure we're all fed up of hearing about the Northern Powerhouse, the Midlands Engine, all the money going up north. To be fair to them, they got their act together. And that's what we need to do down here. So I'm not personally advocating for a mayor. I'm saying we ought to have the discussion. I'm not personally advocating for any particular geography. I'm just saying we need to keep those doors open and have those discussions, and have them soon.
Because Richard, it's absolutely true what Stuart says. As we're apolitical. We don't take sides. However, we still recognise that politics, by its very nature of politics, gets in the way.
So our job is to do the very best we can for our members, and no doubt part of that is making sure that we, as Stuart says, we get our fair slice of the cake. And currently we're not. We're absolutely being left behind by northern powerhouses and others. And it seems grossly unfair. However, if we can get our act together, we can hit that. And it's about meeting the criteria, I guess, and then following the money, to be blunt.
Yeah.
And if we want to draw down sensible investment, going back in time with the Regional Development Agency, that was a huge region. That was the South West England route, and that attracted a huge amount of funding, and through the European Redevelopment Fund. Lots of beneficiaries in this part of the world. And we're currently missing out. There's no doubt about it. We're being left behind. And so, just to support Stuart and the Chamber's point of view, we absolutely have to get our act together, meet the criteria, and get the funding into our economy.
And I think what we've also been bad at is putting a business case to what we need. So I remember, I won't say who, because it's, as I say, we're apolitical, but one of the politicians I met when I first got this role, the first words out of their mouth was, "Don't tell me you want a better railway line, everybody does." Okay.
Right?
Yeah. But to be fair, the point was, yes, everyone wants a better railway line. So tell me why you need it, what it's going to mean to the economy, why it's an investment, not an expense. And that's what we've been poor at. And I think We as a region need to decide what we are and just get on with it. You know, for too long we've argued about borders. People who say, well, we're not the Southwest, or we're not this, or we're not that. You know, people who think the green and blue economy. I personally think that the value of the Southwest is the blue economy, the blue peninsula. You know, that's our USP. Everybody's green, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you won't find a plan or strategy in the world that doesn't have the word green in it, so that's not a USP. I think our USP is around the blue peninsula, around our coastline, and net zero and all the things we can do. But we need to stop worrying about the detail. Just, you know, there's a story I tell about
I thought you were going to come up with a quote then.
No, there's a florist in Somerset who says Hinckley's the best thing that ever happened to them, because they saw the opportunity and they grasped it. So if you don't think you're part of the blue economy, I'm afraid you're in fairyland. You really are, because of the supply chains and because of everything that's going on. So they saw that opportunity, that there were thousands of workers who need to send flowers home, and they seized it, and they've done really well out of it. So all I'd say is, you know, if we can define our USP, all get behind it, and explain to government what we are and what we add to UK PLC, I think we're well on the way. And I don't want to be a doom monger about this, because actually we have received huge investment in the Southwest. You look at the Freeport, you look at the Box. There's a lot of really exciting things going on when we make the case. So let's do more of it.
Excellent, very well said. And also it just goes to demonstrate how the work and the messaging that's behind the Devon Chamber of Commerce, not only does it go to help its members, but indeed it helps those organisations who aren't members. But I would like to reiterate, being a member is much better than not being a member, but I would also like to underline the fact that there's something there for businesses of all sizes, yes?
Absolutely. So I always quote from the belt maker in Exeter 4th Street, a lovely little business that make the most fantastic belts, leather belts and bags, right away to, you know, in Plymouth Babcock. So we have something there for everyone, but we are very relevant, and probably, you know, we have some part of the package offers are very, very attractive to small businesses. You know, some of those additional benefits of HR support. Recently, again, I'm going to use another example.
No, they're good. They're powerful.
I was sat in a meeting last week, a part of a group that I support. I sit on a charity committee, and we are launching a new initiative, and we want to attract more people into our property, our building, but we don't have a health and safety policy. And so we were saying, which lawyers do we know? Who can we employ? Who? And everybody's going around the room, and I said, we don't need any of that.
Yeah.
Because we are members of the chamber, and actually as members of the chambers we have Quest, instant answer. So instantly it's a quick fix,
yes,
and a quick solution,
yeah,
and hopefully cost effective, if not no cost.
Yeah, I mean, and for those who didn't know, so Quest, on top of that free helpline and all those insurances, you get access to 800 downloadable template documents. So if you're a new business and the first time you've ever employed someone, you need an employment contract, there's a template one on there. You need to write your first health and safety policy, there's a template on there. You know, you've got to fill in the gaps, you've got to do the work, but at least you know you're legal and compliant and all that sort of thing. So I would say it's very relevant.
And then, of course, when you need to go off piece with all that, you can put people in touch with solicitors and legal advisors to expand on it.
Exactly.
It's all about
Many
the
of them
picture
here today.
Yeah.
You know, what I love about here where we are in the Life Centre is the variety of businesses out there.
Huge.
And people doing business with businesses they didn't even know they needed to do business with, which is what this is all about.
Absolutely. It's all about making better connections and making a better business environment for us all. And thank you, gentlemen. Richard Marsh and Stuart Elford, both from the brand spanking new, I love saying it's new, Devon Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the board, I'm just going to extend an expression of thanks and gratitude on behalf of the board and indeed all our members for the work that you've both done, because you really have. The job hasn't finished at 6 p.m. with regards to this. There's been a lot of out-of-hours work, a lot of travel, a lot of pain, a lot of celebration. Of course, the celebration is what you see behind you today at the Devon Business Show. Thank you very much. Before we finish, I need to say a few more hellos. Little Ant, Apex HR Limited, Bright Solicitors, Caps and Fresh Digital Media, they're all down there in the arena. Do come on in, because once you pass there's a little bit of rain that's outside, it's nice and warm in here.